always cook. I mean, when I've talked about this before, but you got to have that showstopper bird, the one that's real pretty. But when it comes down to eating one, most people just eat the white meat anyway, and that boneless, skinless turkey breast turns out fantastic every single time.
We're going live everywhere else right now.
What are you doing? Looking at comments? The moderator. I don't even know how to do that. Can y'all see Shell doing this on TikTok? Is this the first? I don't know. I've been live on TikTok before. I don't do it very often. I probably should, really. It's a lot of fun. I just don't know how people actually can read it. I need to put my glasses on. My old man glasses.
I think we're ready. We're live everywhere right
We're
now.
live on Facebook. We're live on TikTok. We're live on Twitter. We're on X.
Okay.
We're live on
Facebook, Instagram. We might even be live on MySpace. I'm not 100% sure.
MySpace.
So let me get the chat pulled up. I'll start talking.
What are we doing? So I'm gonna, I've got a stack of daggum hats that I've got to sign. So while y'all find some questions and read some of these folks' comments to us, I'm gonna start signing a few hats.
What are we doing with the hats, Mount?
We are raising money.
Make sure you talk. Yeah.
We are raising money for our local food bank here in Hernando, DeSoto County, North Mississippi. And these hats that I have, I don't know if y'all can see them, but it's a How to Barbecue Right hat. And I'm going to put my signature on it like y'all want that. But and there's going to be a link on there if anybody wants to buy one of these hats. They make great Christmas gifts, collector's items, as they got my John Hancock on them. But they'll be signed just like that.
And the money that we raise, all proceeds are going to our local food bank for
That's
Thanksgiving.
right, for Thanksgiving. We're donating all the proceeds.
I got a question for you.
Even the price of the hats.
25.
How much are they?
25.
$25. That's not bad for a nice Richardson 112 trucker.
All right.
Adjustable.
I got a question for you, Mount.
Fire it at me. First question, the turkey talk. What we got?
Bass and barbecue. Any tips for a drum smoker? Do you hang it or is it spatchcock?
For drum smoker, I like spatchcock the best. Simply because I like to put it like on a bed of herbs and citrus, like lemon slices. It's a protection from that turkey. If you do a whole bird, a lot of times there's not enough headspace. There's not enough air between the top of that turkey and the lid, so it gets a bad color. But if you spatchcock it, it lays it down kind of flat, and air can circulate over it. You can make a nice little nest for that turkey to sit on, and you've got all that heat coming up from underneath the bird. It's a fantastic turkey, but I would definitely do it spatchcock.
Tank Texas asked, this is a great question. When you use sweet tea in your brine, can you taste the sweet tea in the turkey?
You can't, and that's what I thought too when I first started doing this, because this is an old recipe. There was actually an old guy that had a cooking show a long time ago. I saw it on like WKNO, PBS, whatever.
It wasn't the Cajun.
No. This wasn't Justin Wilson. I don't remember who it was, but he was saying this was like a Southern recipe where they use Southern sweet tea as the liquid for your brine. And I always thought that was interesting. I was like, man, are you going to be able to taste it? Is it going to taste like tea? What it does, the tea actually stains the skin a little bit. So it starts out with that golden brown color really fast when you get it in some heat. But the sweetness of the tea is what's helping the turkey. And what happens, it doesn't overly sweet it either, because during the brining process, you're taking these concentrations of salt, concentrations of sugar in the water, and through osmosis, that's a fancy word, science word, but it tries to equal itself out, to come to equilibrium. So you've got the same concentration inside the meat as you do outside the meat. And that's what gives it its flavor. And it's not overly sweet. It's not overly salty. It's not overly herby from the other stuff that's in the seasonings. It's perfectly balanced. And that's why I like a brine. It keeps it juicy, and you get just the right amount of flavor inside it.
But it does give it a good color.
And it gives it a beautiful color.
So Greg said, I messed up and left a frozen turkey on the counter for 3 hours today. It still felt cold. So
You're okay.
Yeah.
You're okay. You're okay.
When frying a turkey, when should you inject it?
Right before you're going to put it in. The longer you let it sit, the longer the injection is going to try to work itself out. So I would inject it just a few minutes before. It is the best idea when you're deep frying one, to try to get the outer surface, get as much moisture off of it as you can, because you know oil and water don't mix, and you drop too much something that's too wet down in there, it's going to make the oil come out of the pot. So you want to try to get it dry, but you're never going to get it completely dry once you inject it. But do the best you can, and it'll be fine.
What are your thoughts on? A lot of people are asking about dry brine turkey.
Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with dry brining. I don't know if it's actually brining. You know what I mean? You're just heavily seasoning it and letting it set for a period of time in the refrigerator. It puts a really good flavor on stuff, but I don't know if it's actually getting down in the meat like a brine does. The flavor is more concentrated on the outside, the first few inches of the meat, and that's about all you get. But it's good. It's fantastic. I don't know why. I think people just started calling it dry brining because they wasn't putting it in a wet brine. They were just seasoning it and putting it in the refrigerator.
One question we get all the time: if you buy a turkey that's already injected with a salt solution, sometimes they call it pre-brined.
And just about all of them are.
If you brine it, will it be too salty?
Nope, you're not going to get it too salty unless you shoot it full of salt. Now, if you put an injection in it that's super, super salty, or you go heavy with the salt on the outside, you're going to make it salty. But that brine is not going to make it salty.
Here's a good question. When you're cooking your turkey, what's a good way to estimate time? They already know you cook to internal and at a time, but what's a good way to estimate?
Well, let's just see. I don't have my calculator in front of me. But a 10 to 12 pound, just say it, let's go off a 12-pound bird, takes about 180 minutes to cook. So divide 180 by 12 and tell me what that number is. And that's going to be how many minutes per pound on average it's going to take it to cook.
What was that math again?
180 minutes.
180.
Divided by 12 pounds.
Okay.
What is that?
15.
That's going to be about right. About that many minutes per pound on average. Now, that's not a go-to all the time. Sometimes my turkeys take 3 hours, 20 minutes. But most of the time, a 10 to 12-pound bird is going to cook in about 3 hours. And that's getting the breast to 160 and the dark meat to about 170 and allowing it time to carry over when you take it off. That's where it's going to get those extra degrees.
Somebody said, will the caffeine from the tea make your kids lose it?
See, what happens there is the tryptophan in the turkey offsets the caffeine that you put in it, and it equals itself out. Now, I don't know. I couldn't tell that. I don't know how much you would have to eat to get a big enough dose. Now, I wouldn't drink 2 gallons of sweet tea because you're going to throw your blood sugar off. I don't know if the caffeine's the scary part. It's what that would do to you.
I like this question. Will smoking a wild turkey turn out as good and tender as a store-bought?
Man, that's the one thing I've always deep fried wild turkey. It's too good not to cut up and batter and fry. Me and Shell talked about this when we recorded this weekly podcast this morning. It'll release tomorrow, but I've got like one lobe of I've got a wild turkey breast in my freezer from one I actually harvested last spring, and I'm going to try it. I want to see if it'll compare to. I'm not going to do a video on it, I don't think, because I don't know. But I mean, I guess why not? I might as well let everybody find out. But I want to see if it's as good. It's a good sized turkey breast. It come off a big wild turkey.
That Boom Boom turkey you did on Bug Junkies was so good.
It was fantastic. Yeah, over on Buck Junkies, I've got a video where I actually cut up one and cooked it, fried it.
Real good.
When you smoke a turkey, is the meat pink near the bone?
Sometimes you see some pink. Most of the time I don't. I'm trying to cook it to where it don't. And I always kind of go by texture, the way the juice looks. If it still looks bloody or anything, it's not done. But you are going to get some pink color just from the smoke reaction and stuff. I don't know if it should be down by the bone, though. I would see it more on the outer edges where smoke ring would happen. I've wrecked that pen already. These are not designed for signing hats. They say they are.
I got one right here.
Oh, my Gorilla Grip.
Can you thaw out a turkey in the brine?
Yeah, I've done it. Do I recommend it? No. I don't know why. You got to think that turkey's froze. It's got a lot of moisture still. So you're diluting your brine down some by adding all that extra ice and water that's going to melt and turn into liquid. The one drawback would be it's still got the giblet bag and it's still got the neck in there, but all that's not going to hurt anything if it's in your brine. To be honest with you, I've messed up and cooked it with all that stuff in there before. As many turkeys I cook, there's a screw up sometimes. And there's, we're cooking, I forget what year it was. It's been a while ago, but we were cooking a truckload of turkeys. I mean, we had our garage full of turkeys.
A fundraiser.
Yeah, it was a fundraiser. And there was some of them that when I took them off the pit, I was like, what the heck is this? Oh, I said, oh man, we cooked this with giblet bags still in the neck. Somebody forgot, because you had people pulling them out of packages as fast as you can and getting them on a pit, trying to get some seasoning on them. And it just happened. So I don't think it would hurt it that bad. The only thing you're going to weaken your brine a little bit. Just make sure you take all that stuff out before you cook it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like if I forget to put my turkey in the refrigerator long enough for it to completely thaw, as long as I can get the package off of it, get the neck out and get the giblet bag, it's still got a lot. Sometimes it'll have a big old ice chunk still in it. I run it.
Elevation. Anthony, is it a mile high? How does that impact the bird?
It's probably going to slow it down. From my experience, cooking at elevation, it takes a lot longer to render stuff. I'm sure there's science behind it, but it always had to add extra time, and sometimes it still didn't want to get there. We were cooking hogs at elevation. I think we were like at, was it 9,000 feet above sea level where we were? And it was tough because that hog took like 28 hours, and normally they cook in like 17.
Do you do traditional stuff of your turkeys, or do you do the stuffing separately?
I'd always do the dressing separate. Me and my house call it dressing. But yeah, I always do it separate. There's nothing wrong with it. Look, there is no way you can make as good a stuffing or dressing inside that bird as you can in a casserole dish. And get the top all good to where it's got a little bit of brown and crunch to it, but it's still soft and moist on the inside. That's how dressing's supposed to be. And for stuffing, you can put whatever you want in there. A lot of times I just use vegetables, aromatics, things like that.
You did do a turkey recipe.
I did it. I've got one doing it. I've got one doing it. It's okay. It's traditional. That's a traditional way.
This is an interesting question. So Ramey asks, I cross-hatch or puncture duck skin to help crisp it. Mm-hmm. Would puncturing the turkey skin help?
It ain't gonna hurt. What you're doing is you're even when you do it with ducks, you're giving that skin a way to vent the fat that it renders, and it's all So that's what's happening. You're giving it a way to get out. I've never done it. I've never tenderized a turkey. I've done it with chicken thighs and competitions a lot. Take a jacquard and jacquard the crap out of that skin. It makes it to where it's bite through, helps that fat render up underneath it. So if you're worried about that, yeah. I think you get better skin just cooking a little bit higher temp.
Adam lives in Japan, so he can't get access to most of the ingredients. He wants a simple brine recipe.
Let's go 1 cup salt, 2 cups sugar, brown or white. I would throw some whole peppercorns in there, some bay leaves, maybe squeeze some lemons in it. Any kind of herbs that you like that goes with turkey. So I think poultry herbs like rosemary, thyme, sage, things like that. You can just tie those up in a little butcher twine. I can make a little bundle with it. Put that in your brine. You can heat it up if you want to help it dissolve. Often I don't because I'm leaving it in there for a long time and it all dissolves eventually. So that's all the dissolving part does. Heating it up helps it dissolve a little faster. But a brine is simply a sugar and salt solution with any other ingredients you want to put in it. So if you've got a flavor profile that you're looking for that bird, definitely think of some of those ingredients that make up that flavor profile and put them. I like that turkey. And and put them in that brine. It's not going to hurt you.
What's your thoughts on spatchcocking?
It's great for if you're limited on space or if you're limited on time. It cooks a really good bird. It's not as picture worthy to me. Most people, when I think of the whole turkey for Thanksgiving, I think of the old picture where the dad's like sitting at the top of the table with his big fork and knife and it's on the big platter and everybody's oohing and awing, That's what I think of. Does that spatchcock bird eat better than that big bird? I would think so, because it cooks at an even rate, and I think it's really great. And it takes up, so you can get more whole turkeys on your pit usually, because they don't take up as much shelf space. And then if you've got a smaller pit and you're worried about getting a big bird in it, definitely spatchcock it and spread it out.
I like this one. Is mayonnaise an instrument to be used on turkey?
Yeah.
We've done it before.
Heck yeah. You can put it all over. It's a great, you want to talk about getting a pretty skin. Put that, mayonnaise is a fat. It's a oil, oil based. Rub it all over the outside and season it. It's really good.
What kind of mayonnaise?
Blue Plate. If you can't find Blue Plate, there's substitutions allowed. But if you're in the South, you can probably find Blue Plate.
Dylan asked, he's got 35 adults and about 25 kids to feed on Thanksgiving.
Wow.
How many pounds of whole turkey?
A lot.
Just had an anxiety attack.
How many pounds? So, okay, we had this discussion earlier. Excuse me. We had this discussion where how many ounces of meat, of protein, are you actually going to eat on Thanksgiving? Because you got to think, most of the time there's all kinds of side dishes. And often there's more than one protein. So if you're thinking, just say we're eating turkey, dressing, and then 2 to 3 sides, I would think about 4 to 6 ounces of protein would be about the maximum most people are going to eat. So if you do the math, 6 ounces for the adults and just figure half that for the kids, you'd be on ballpark. I don't know what that math is. Y'all, somebody with a calculator figure that out.
It's a lot.
35 times 6. What does that equate out to? And then half that?
Oh, you want me to do math?
We don't have to
You
do
got
that. You
that.
can figure that calculation. If y'all want to pop it back up later, we can.
I like this one. So Swade Mobley from Facebook says, thoughts on a rotisserie turkey?
I tell you what, there's a video coming. And I was pleasantly shocked by how good it turned out. Now, it's not the prettiest turkey. In fact, was that not one of the promos for this that we did?
Yeah, the
I
picture.
think I saw the picture. It was a
holding
picture
that.
of that rotisserie turkey. I'm holding it like out in front of me. If somebody pop that turkey thing up, it'll look like I'm holding it. But yeah, it turned out fantastic because what it did, I cooked it on the Primo on my rotisserie. I was concerned because I didn't know if it was going to be strong enough motor on the rotisserie to rotate this big turkey. But it did fine. I tied it up and I used the little, what do you call them, the little forks that you put on the end of the rotisserie to hold the meat tight. And it spun it no problem. Well, the issue then was it's a lot of heat on that rotisserie. And it's harder to control when I just got it wide open. I didn't have the deflector plate in there. But what I did, I started out with about a chimney's worth of lump coal, and I just spread them out in the bottom of that Primo. And then as it cooked and as my skin started looking good, I had no idea how long it was going to take. I was like, well, most of the time it takes 3 hours. So I was trying to keep it around that 350, 375, but it got up to 400 sometimes. But once that skin started looking really good, I took those coals and just kind of raked them out. But, man, that was early in the cook. I think it was only about an hour in. The whole cook didn't take long. That's one of the fastest ways I've ever cooked a turkey.
Yeah,
What was that time, Tyler? Like
It was like an
hour and a half?
Hour and a half.
Yeah, it's like an hour and a half to cook the whole bird on the rotisserie. But the big kicker was it's not as pretty because the skin busts and it has charry spots and the wing tips get burned up and the outer legs look overcooked. But the meat itself took on that flavor, and it had a layer of grill flavor, not just smoke, it tasted like you cooked that bird over open fire, and it was fantastic. It really was really good turkey.
Y'all are gonna have to watch that one for
Yeah.
sure.
I think in that video at the end of it, I say this is the best tasting one of the ones I've done this year. Tasted. Now I want to do a rotisserie breast. That's next on my to-do list too.
This one's sort of different too. Thinking of making some sort of ribs with cranberry barbecue sauce. Is that a bad idea?
No, cranberry glaze is good for ribs. It'd be easy.
Probably something different for.
I would melt down unless you want to make homemade cranberry sauce, it's just not hard to do. But I would start with one of the ones that like Ocean Spray or whatever that comes in a can, because you can just put a splash of like apple juice in there with it or even water and microwave it, and it's going to turn back to a syrup. And it doesn't want to go back to gel. It's going to stay that way. So then what you can do is you can either glaze the ribs normal and apply that over the top, or you can combine that melted cranberry sauce with the barbecue sauce you're using and turn it into a really fantastic glaze.
So last time I smoked a turkey, the breast turned out great, but the legs and wings were dry. Should I wrap them in foil once they hit a temp? Does spatchcocking help? What would you recommend for that?
Well, I've never had that problem with the legs drying out before the breast, because usually the breast is the one that's behind. I would make sure that you had it tied up tight to where those legs are kind of held together more. But you're right, aluminum foil is always a good shield. So if you do get ahead of the time, you can put some tin around them. I wouldn't wrap them up tight because that's really going to pressure it more. It's going to cook it faster. But I would check and see where your heat's coming from. Maybe the bird was positioned in a way to where all the heat coming out was hitting it first there instead of the breast. You know, that sounds like there might be some issues there with the way the cooker was doing.
Okay, once you put the bird in the brine, put it in the fridge, do you need to come back and move it around and shake it and make sure the seasonings don't settle?
No, I don't. I mean, I guess it probably wouldn't hurt, but I don't think it's necessary. I know, when you're doing pork belly and stuff, you're staying in there for like 7 days. It's not really brining. It's kind of it's making its own solution, but you do need to go back and flip it around and stuff. But typically, if you got that bird submerged in enough liquid, it's going to be completely covered. You just want to make sure it stays weighted down. And that, if y'all notice in that one, I've been using the meat bags. The meat bags does a good job because you can squeeze out the air, and there's no way it cannot be submerged. It's just the liquid and the turkey in the bag at that point. The air is what gets you because that turkey's going to want to try to get out. If you got him trapped down in there, he can't go nowhere.
This one's from
got him.
This one's from somebody kind of in the chat on Instagram called IVS Dub. Have you ever smoked a turducken? They're gonna try it this year.
I've done mini turduckens. I don't know if I've ever done a full size one, but I've done little mini ones where I did a deboned duck breast with a chicken breast with the turkey breast, done it that way, and then wrapped the whole thing and cooked it. And it was really good.
And you put like some sausage in between?
Yeah, I put boudin. I think it was boudin in it.
Ooh, sounds good.
I think it's more, that's more flashy than it is really good,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with them. I think individually, though, like when you go to break one of those things down, the whole bird, it can't look that good.
Do you prefer a bone-in turkey breast or boneless turkey breast?
I mean, I prefer the ones that I get from Kevin, the big boneless, those are phenomenal. But I ain't mad at a bone-in one either.
If you're just smoking turkey legs, are you pulling at 165 even though they can be tough?
No, I'm taking turkey legs up to like 202. I want them to where when you take them up to 165 and wrap them, and then take them up to where them jokers are 202. And when you unwrap them, all that steam comes off. Let them rest a little bit, and you can pick them up and you can just start wiggling it, and all that meat just wants to come off, and that's what's good. Then you just take the tendons out, take the bone out, and all you've got is this beautiful turkey leg meat.
Got me sold.
This one didn't have to do with turkeys, but it has to do with cranberry sauce. Do you go canned or do you jazz it up?
We always have both. Part of my family likes the traditional canned stuff that you slice, but Shell started making homemade cranberry sauce.
It's so easy.
All it is you buy the bag of cranberries in the produce department. You put it in a pot with like a splash of orange juice, and it's not even much.
And honey.
And you cook them till those berries start popping, and they gel. It's got some natural pectin or something in it that causes it to gel itself. And I mean, it's so easy. It sounds like it's hard, but it's really dang good. And then you can control the sweet level with it by how much honey you put, or if you wanted to put a sugar substitute to keep the calories down, I guess. But I prefer the homemade more. It's more rustic looking because you still get bits of, you can tell it was a fruit. It doesn't just look like a jelly log.
Using a pellet smoker, I plan to smoke 2 14-pound turkeys at the same time. Any suggestions, any changes you got to make?
No, just make sure they're spaced out enough, and that pellet grill, has got plenty of room for them. But I've done it. I mean, my little griller pit will do it, no problem. 2's about the limit, though. I wouldn't try to squeeze 3 in there.
That kind of goes off the same question. Somebody wanted to know what your, excuse me, go for what's your go-to grill for a turkey?
My go-to is probably my pellet grill, just because I think, and what it is, it's like it's not a overly powerful smoke, so you get the smoke flavor without it being too strong, but it's got so much airflow, and I can adjust that temperature to where I can get that skin really, really good, and the skin does get crispy on it, and that's why I like the pellet grill. But I'm telling you, that rotisserie, there was something to that one. It was mighty good. Man, I would sound a stack of these things. Hold on, let me put some of them in the box.
Oh, my bad. I get you.
So if you deep fry a turkey, would it be okay to inject the bird after the fry?
I wouldn't do that. I mean, what are you going to now?
Well, myself.
I don't know, because I'm thinking of what would you inject in it afterwards? Maybe like
Butter.
a little chicken broth and butter or some melted butter or something. But then when it cools off, it might get greasy on you. I would think you wouldn't need to. Like, why would you? I would wait till you carved it and then dress it with, if you got something you want to dress it with that's a liquid like that, for more flavor, for more richness, I would do it then after it was cut up instead of trying to pump it in it once it's done.
Have you ever done pulled ham?
Oh, yes. And pulled ham is mighty good. See, that's usually on the menu for New Year's with your turnip greens and your black-eyed peas and your hog jowl.
Do you do ham for Thanksgiving?
Absolutely. It'll be a spiral, double smoked. No glaze, because my mama won't let me glaze it. She likes to use the bone and whatever else as meat is left on there once we get through eating, and she saves that for New Year's. That's what she flavors her pot liquor for her greens, and she puts some ham in her black-eyed peas. Everything she makes, fried cabbage, it's going to have some of that ham in it for flavor. And once you do it with the glaze, she swears that it gets sweet, and it'll make her peas sweet, and she don't want sweet black-eyed peas, and she don't want sweet turnip greens, and I don't blame her. I don't either. And so I started paying attention to that, and I was like, well, it's no problem for me just to open the package and put it on the pit. You don't do anything to it. You're just warming it up in the smoke.
All right, this one's got personal preference for sweet potato casserole. I'll bet quirky barbecue, brown sugar, or marshmallow topping for sweet potato casserole.
Let me tell you how to make the best topping. It's brown sugar, a stick of melted butter, a little bit of flour, and some chopped up pecans. It basically makes a praline on top. You combine all that stuff, and when you put your sweet potatoes in your casserole, spread them out good so you got maximum surface area. Don't put it like in a round one that's deep. You want it kind of in a shallow one that's spread out. That way, when every bite, you're getting some of that praline topping with the delicious sweet potato beneath it. And marshmallows don't even count. That's for yams.
This is a great question. If you had to choose one turkey recipe that you have on your website out of all the turkey recipes you've done, what's the one you choose?
The king crawl turkey breast with sitting on a stick of butter and a little chicken broth in it.
The one you did today?
Yep. That's my go-to. That's my go-to. Now, if you don't want to spend $50 or whatever it is on that turkey breast, because it's expensive, I ain't gonna lie, they're not cheap. I would do just a regular old traditional smoked turkey on a pellet grill. And what did I call it? The Norman. I think that was the one I did. Yeah. That one's too easy, and you can't screw it up. Tastes good every time, and you're going to say, "Wow, this is Thanksgiving."
The butter and herb basted turkey was pretty good.
Yeah, that was pretty good too.
It looked beautiful too.
Yeah, I don't know how many different turkey recipes I have. I've been doing turkey recipes ever since we started YouTube, and that was like in 2010. So for the past 14 years, I've been cooking turkeys on Thanksgiving.
At least one.
At least one, but often multiple. So that's a lot of daggum turkey recipes.
They're all a little different, so.
Yeah, none of them are the exact same.
Chase.
But that goes to show you that you could take just a basic one, a basic recipe, tweak it to your own and make it yours, and you can start tweaking it from there. That's the best way to do it. Don't just follow my way. I mean, my way's great, don't get me wrong. but don't just do that. Make it your own. Make it unique to you.
That's some of my favorite things in the community that people do is like they'll watch a video that we just released or released in the past and then put their spin on it and share what they did different.
Yeah, I love that, man.
Like super cool. Chase Gilgore, he said he has to hold a turkey for 1 to 2 hours before eating it. Is it better to leave in the warmer or warmer on the smoker or rested in a cooler?
I'd probably go ahead and move it to unless you got a pit you can get down to like 140 or lower, right in like 135 would be ideal.
Yeah,
that would be fine. But you don't want to risk overcooking it. So I would probably I'd probably drop it when I took it off the pit. I'd put it in an aluminum pan, and I'd set me a little rack in that pan, just to keep the moisture off the bottom of it. And I'd loosely tint it with foil, and I'd drop it down in a dry cooler. Now, your skin, there's nothing you can do about it. It's not going to be as good as when it come off that pit and it never got covered up. Even if you didn't cover it up and you shut the lid on the cooler, it's still going to steam and it's going to soften it. It's not going to mess up the flavor. It's just not going to have that crispy-esque, texture that you can get on one. That's the only bad thing about having to take it somewhere.
What's the best wood for smoking a turkey?
That's a good one. I don't know, pecan.
If you had
It's
to
my
pick
favorite.
one,
If I had to
you
pick one. I did the ones I did. I used hickory splits, and then I used Royal Oak lump on the rotisserie, and then on the pellets, I think I just had a Bear Mountain blend in there. It had some oak and hickory and something else, like maple or something, and it was just one of their blends. But pecan is my choice. If I have, I don't have a ton of like split. I don't have any split pecan. I probably have some chunks, but it's really good flavor.
Is it worth the time to confit turkey breast and then finish it on the grill?
I don't know. I cook them in fat
I'm
and then
into
take
it.
them out and then put a sear on it at the end. I don't hate that idea. What if you did it low like that on the pit? Just had it floating in some duck fat and brought it up to temp, and then you took it out at the end and to get the skin right. I bet it would be absolutely delicious. It would probably be a lot like the texture I hear people do with sous vide, where they sous vide the breast, and because you can really control it, and you can cook it. You can take it off. It's done at a lower temperature because of the time you keep it in the sous vide. So it's a totally different texture. I've never done it. That's above my pay grade.
Somebody on Instagram, they want to know if they could also sweet tea brine before they deep fry their turkey this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Share a picture of it if you do that, and it turns out, if it's a train wreck, don't tell. If it turns out, let me know how it is. That's the recipe where I saw the guy doing it. That's how they were cooking them. They weren't smoking turkeys back then. Nobody was. It was all deep fried was the rage. That's how my dad wanted to do it. We loved them. We deep fried them for a lot of years when I started smoking, until people quit eating the deep fried one. It's like slowly migrated over to, man, this is what turkey's supposed to taste like. I think often, like, I remember growing up, we just ate turkey because you were supposed to. We didn't eat it because it was good. Now it's like that's what people want to eat.
I'm using a pellet grill to cook a 22-pound turkey, but I'm worried that the skin's going to burn at 350.
It probably would. I've never done it on that big a one. I would start it out lower, and because you got plenty of time. A bird that size is going to take a long time. So you'll have time to get back with the skin. But what you can do, and I do this often too, if I need to baste my turkey, I'll melt me some butter and drizzle it over it, or I'll use that cooking spray that you see me put on as a binder. And then you can do that at the end when you are able to crank it up to get the temperature right. But often when I've done big birds like that, and I've just kept it at like 275, 250, 275, the skin still gets really, really dark before that turkey ever gets done, so I have to tint it. So if you got it up at a higher temp and you know that it's getting too brown on you or whatever, put some foil over those areas that are getting brown, or lay a big piece of foil over it. Don't wrap it tight. Just keep it over it to where it's got a shield, and that'll help you from getting too dark. I did that on one of the videos here a couple of years ago. I was like, this turkey's getting way too dark. Watch this. And we just put that foil over it, and it stopped it. And then when you take it off, and those last few minutes, you can't even tell that foil had been on there. Baste it a little bit. When I say baste it with butter, I don't mean brush it. I'm just like taking melted butter and letting it run off my brush over it and kind of controlling where it drips down. I'm not actually like touching the surface of it, because when you do that, you're going to make it splotchy. It's going to, it's not going to look as pretty.
I have brine bags and I have a 5-gallon bucket. Is that safe to do in there, or should I
Yeah.
just use my ice chest?
I mean, don't use one that you've been, changing oil in or
But
something.
it's a sunflower seed bucket.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. And especially you got the Ziploc bag, the big meat bag to go in it. Yeah,
Just keep
no
it
problem.
cold.
Keep it cold. I think that briner is a 5-gallon bucket. Basically, it's just got ridges in it to where you can put the.
Pretty much all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually a hack I saw on TikTok this year. That was like, you can go to Firehouse Subs and they sell their pickle buckets.
Yeah, I used to buy them all the time.
It's
Just
like
go,
$2-3. They're
Yeah.
cheap.
Come in handy for filling it with water and holding the tent down. You can get a Lowe's bucket. I wouldn't be scared to use a Lowe's or Home Depot bucket.
Everyone talks about duck fat spray, but in my opinion, it's overrated. Is it necessary for crispy skin?
No, that's not necessary. Any fat will work. I've used peanut oil. I've used all kinds of different cooking sprays. I've used spray butter or spray margarine. I've used melted butter. I've used duck fat.
Duck fat clogs.
That's my whole hang up with it. Those little nozzles get clogged, and you got to put them in some hot water to get them unclogged. 'Cause I think what they're doing, it's like congealing in there or something. Especially, I don't ever notice it like during the summer when it's really hot. But in the cooler months, or if you're doing it inside where your air's got down to 70, 72 degrees, or 68 if you're at my house, it makes things seize up a little, and that's all it is.
So Shaq Fu is from the UK and interested in doing a Thanksgiving style meal this year. Other than the turkey, what other dishes are your must-haves for the meal?
So you got to have dressing if you're going to have turkey, or stuffing, depending on what region of the state you're from. But it's basically a bread dish that's kind of like a savory bread pudding would be the best way to describe it for somebody that's not from America.
That's a good way to describe it.
It's a savory bread pudding,
Chicken flavor.
often made with cornbread or cornmeal instead of just like bread flour. But I've seen different kinds of stuffing. Some people use just day old like loaf bread to make stuffing, but I prefer cornbread in my stuffing. It's like cornbread dressing. There's my turkey.
Sweet potato casserole.
Oh, okay.
Or
I
some people call
stopped
them
there.
yams.
So, okay, then you got your dressing or stuffing. Then you got to have your gravy. Then you need some vegetables to, balance out all that protein and that heavy carb load. So my favorite are butter beans or green beans. We always have those. Roasted carrots, Brussels sprouts with a little balsamic drizzle and bacon.
That's not the classics.
They're not classic, but they're good.
Sweet.
Macaroni cheese casserole.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, green bean casserole. You would just get on the real ones. yeah, that's what I would do.
Hash brown casserole.
Hash brown casserole, which is a potato dish.
Do y'all do cornbread or rolls?
Rolls,
Rolls.
cornbread dressing, and rolls with room temp butter.
That's my wife started doing. My wife started doing the Texas Roadhouse style rolls for Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, all bets are off. It is a gluttonous day.
And then you got to have a pecan pie to wrap it up.
I like pecan pie.
I got a big green egg, 22-pound bird I'm making tomorrow, 275 to 300 degrees.
There you go.
How long for the cook should he?
6 hours.
It's a big bird, 22 pounds.
6 hours. 5 to 6 is what it's going to take.
Do you have tips for cooking a turkey if you only have a side firebox?
I mean, know your pit. So like as long as you can run that pit 275, 300, whatever you can run it at, you can cook that bird. The biggest thing is just going to keep the fire going the whole time. Try to keep it consistent, and then most of the time, all your heat's going to be on one side. So I'm not just going to cook that bird the same position the whole cook. I'm going to rotate it throughout the cook. So say if I was cooking a 12-pound bird, which is what I like to cook, every 30 minutes, I'm probably going to have that turkey on a little rack to make this easy, that I can come out and just spin that rack. And I'm going to spin it every 30 minutes to where that turkey's rotating around and cooking even on it.
Alonzo's up in here.
Oh, what's up?
What up, dude?
Gulf Coast smoke.
Have you done a grilled turkey breast before? He's thinking about doing a 2-zone fire with a sear first and then going indirect to finish.
I've never done it, but I'd be interested to see how that turned out. I don't see why you couldn't. Just get some. It's basically you're browning the outside first and then moving it over and letting it come up slow.
Ooh, someone recommended oyster dressing. I've never had it, but I'd try
I've
it.
had it. It's good. crawfish dressing, oyster dressing.
What's your final temp you're looking to hit with the turkey?
I'm pulling them off at 160, but I want it to go to 165 for carryover. If you take it all the way up to 165, it's going to carry over to about 172 probably, and it's going to be dry. So if I stop it at 160 and it goes to 167, I'm cool with that. That's not going to dry out as much, but I want it at 165. That's the final target. In the white meat, 175 in the dark meat.
Oh, listen to this. Jason said he injected a turkey with bacon grease before smoking it.
What?
He said, man, it was good.
I bet it was. Like, who put bacon grease up in the bird? I bet it tastes like bacon, though, because, I mean, that's a flavor that's unique. I'm down to, I have ran through all these hats, y'all. And I don't know how many we've gotten rid of, but if you hadn't got one, you can go on, where do you go on the website? There's probably a link in the first comments. You see.
Yep.
But I have signed all of these hats, and we are raising money for our local food bank to feed some families for Thanksgiving. So if you want to get one of these, I think they're $25. We'll ship it to you, and the proceeds are going to our food bank. And I don't know how many I signed. 100.
Signed a bunch.
I hope. What was your goal we wanted to raise?
I was hoping to raise $4,000.
That would be awesome if we do.
And my plan is whatever we raise for our
We'll
local
match.
food bank, we're going to match and give to the Palmer home. So
Oh,
we'll be able to
sweet.
raise, have money for 2 charities.
That's good. That's awesome.
That is awesome. So this gentleman over on TikTok says, would you go snake method or something else for spatchcocking a turkey on a Weber kettle?
I'd probably go snake. That'd be a good way to do it. Let it burn around even, and just watch it. If it seems like it's getting hot and too much color, that would work really well. Put you a pan in the middle, and cook over that pan and snake them around the outside of it.
Jim just answered one of my questions here.
Uh-oh.
He said the Firehouse Subs toasted turkey is pretty decent. I saw the commercial the other day.
I'm a hook and ladder man. That's a good one.
What's the best way to get bite through skin?
Cook it at a higher temperature. Make sure the skin's really dry. Put a oil or some kind of fat on it to hold your seasonings on. That's going to help it brown, help it crisp up a little. And then cook it at a little bit higher temperature than you normally would smoke stuff. That being 300, 325, 350. I probably wouldn't go much higher than 350. I don't think you need to go that high. But when I did that rotisserie, what's going to happen there is it's going to cook that skin so good it's going to start splitting on you, and it's not going to be pretty. It's good, and that rotisserie skin was better than like Costco or Sam's Club rotisserie chicken skin. It was really, really good.
This guy sent this question a few times. I think we kind of answered it, touched on it, but didn't really go in depth. Does the sweet tea brine liquid give a strong taste
No,
of sweet tea?
you don't taste the tea. I guarantee you wouldn't even know it was tea if you tried that turkey. There's no way you could tell me it was. The only thing you'll notice is that the skin it has a slight brown tint to it after it sits and air dries. Even when it comes out, you can see it looks different. But it doesn't change. The tea doesn't alter, like it doesn't give it a unique flavor of the meat. I think you get a little bit of the sweetness from the brine, but it's not sweet turkey either. It's just really, really savory and really, really juicy.
So Kevin has a bullet smoker. Should he use the water pan, the deflector plate, or nothing?
For what, a bullet smoker?
Yeah, bullet.
I don't know how close that's. I would probably, if you can run 300, 325 with that water pan in there, I would put the water pan in there. But if you can, I would take it out. And I'd probably, if you got another place to put another grate where that water pan sits or whatever, I might put a little full over part of it just to kind of block some heat. The problem is it's probably a smaller smoker, so it's going to be a lot hotter, closer to the coals. But if you've got enough space in there, like in a drum, it works fine. I'd still make me a little bird's nest of something, or put something under that bird instead of just having direct coals underneath it the whole time. Because you don't want to burn it. You don't want to get it too hot. You don't want the edges of the wings and everything to get too dark.
Malcolm, I'm smoking your barbecue turkey from the video you did 3 years ago.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a different turkey.
It was a really good one. You served it with a white barbecue sauce. It was really good. Why didn't you inject that turkey? You did brine it.
I just didn't. So sometimes, like I've always said, I'm either going to brine it or inject it. Sometimes I do both. It just depends on how I'm feeling. I don't have a rhyme or reason to it. I just want to make sure that turkey don't taste too plain. I want to get some flavor in it. And often it would be like, man, if I didn't have time to maybe go a full 24 hours on a 12-pound bird, I know I'm going to need some more flavor in it. But what I do a lot of times is I'm brining with the salt sugar solution with the herbs. And so I'm trying to work on those savory flavors. Well, when I inject it, I'm going to mix up a Creole butter injection. And a lot of times that's just chicken broth, hot sauce, and butter. And you can put a little seasonings in there and you want, but it's giving it a different level of flavor than I had in the brine. So I'm putting all of that in there to maximize the flavor in the turkey. But it's pretty good just in brine. It's pretty good just injected too. I don't think you could go wrong either way.
What are your go-to seasonings for smoking a turkey?
Savory. That's my go-to. Salt, pepper, garlic, just AP. If you want to add some herbs to that, a lot of times I've taken AP and bought a little bottle of poultry herbs and, poured some of the AP in a bowl, poured some of those poultry herbs in there, mix that up and use those. That's probably my main seasoning that I use when I do turkeys. But then also I like the Cajun flavors.
Yep.
And I like it because it's not too salty. It doesn't have too much sugar in it. It's not barbecue flavored at all. It just and in Cajun seasoning, they use a lot of thyme. They use herbs in that seasoning, so it's in there. Now they don't have the sage and the rosemary, but you can always add those if you want it.
In your latest turkey video, I noticed you didn't rinse the turkey after brining. Should you?
I don't think it's necessary. It's coming out of all that liquid, and I take paper towels and I blot everything off I can. Rinsing it's not really going to do anything, except probably contaminate my sink area. I don't think it's necessary. I do try to get most of the stuff off the skin. If it's got some herbs from the brine stuck on it, if it's got some peppercorns, I try to. I don't get crazy with it, but I try to give it a pretty good pat down with paper towels, and then I let it dry overnight in the refrigerator on a rack to get the skin right.
Here's a good one. What are the rest times you would expect, like between a whole bird, a spatchcock burger, boneless, turkey breast? What are you looking at?
So let's go
Is resting
on the whole bird. 20 minutes is about all you need. 20 to 30. I wouldn't go much longer than that. I mean, you can, ain't gonna hurt it. But breast, they don't need near as long. They're gonna carry over pretty quick because it's a smaller piece of meat. So you're looking, 10, 15 minutes on those. Spatchcock bird, it's probably going to be a lot like that breast. Probably, 10, 15 minutes is all you need on it. But you're going to be closer to temps on that spatchcock bird because it is laid out. And you get, when you get up to 160 and it's laid out like that, it's going to carry over to 165 pretty quick. Test it out. Leave your thermometer in there. Don't pull it out when you take it out. And let it sit there and watch it and watch what it does. You'll be surprised. Where I would say is too long is once you let it start dropping back down and it's getting closer to 140. Then you're like, man, I got to serve this. I've got 4 hours now, but it's going to take it a minute to get down there. It's not going to happen fast.
It's going to take it a while. Can you smoke a turkey on a Weber grill?
Yeah. That's what we just talked about, doing the steak method.
Yeah.
Put you a pan in the middle. Put you a pan in the middle. You can put a little liquid in there if you want, but basically it's a buffer. And then stack your coals around that edge and start, kind of space, leave a gap to where they don't all start burning, and then start one end of it and it snakes around that whole grill. As long as you can hold that temperature. I mean, on that method, it's probably going to be, you're going to be cooking a 275 to a 300 bird. It's going to be hard to get that grill up to 350, but you don't have to. It'll cook fine. And you can rotate it, if the fire's, if it's a little hot over here, rotate the breast over that way. If it's, as it moves, you can always rotate.
This one's a little different. What are your go-to cocktail recipes for Thanksgiving?
Whiskey.
You start with ice?
Yeah, you start with ice.
In a cup.
2 shots of Woodford, and then a splash of Diet. That's my go-to. No, man. I mean, that cranberry Sprite and a little cranberry syrup and some vodka, maybe a little bitters, something like that. That makes a good one. We could do a whole nother drink talk.
There's usually a bottle of wine or something.
Yeah, there's wine.
To make it
most of them, most of the time I don't make too many batch things. We usually do a punch Christmas or New Year's, something like that. But for Thanksgiving, it's usually more. It's the family holiday, I mean, Christmas is too, but Thanksgiving, and then the Egg Bowl, it was either Thursday night. That's when the libations would come out. And this year it's going to be on Friday, so the libations will be all day. I may be in Oxford Friday. It's gonna be hard not to. I mean, that deer stand will be calling me Friday morning, but man, I want to go watch some Rebels play.
I've seen a lot of bush lattes after I said that.
Yeah. The lattes. I got a camo pack in the fridge now, 30-pack. It's a 30 rack.
Somebody saw that in a recent video.
Did it? It was in the brine because I was like, oh shit, somebody's gonna see my lattes. Think I'm cheating on the gold tops. No, there's some gold tops in there too. There's some ultras.
Can you strain your brine and use it as an injection?
I would not do that. You don't want to put it strong. It's too concentrated to be on the inside, and then don't do that. Don't do that.
Oh, here's a good question. So when you pull your turkey out of the brine, you dry it off with paper towels, and you stuff paper towels in the cavity, and then you put it in the fridge and let it dry. Do you leave those paper towels in overnight when you're letting that skin dry in the fridge?
I do. Am I not supposed to?
I
leave it in there to act as a sponge, because as that bird's, it's been soaked in moisture, and it's raw, so it's still got a lot of internal moisture. It's going to try to come out. It's going to try to collect in that cavity. And I want to get all the moisture off of it, so I leave those wadded up in there to hopefully absorb some of it. I don't know if that's a proper technique or not. The food police might come get me on that one. I do it at my house. I ain't telling y'all to do it, but I do it.
Thanks for all the stickers, Shelby. She just sent like a bunch on TikTok. What's the best wireless probe to use? They said they have an offset. Not sure if that matters.
For a wireless... Well, y'all know I'm pretty partial to ThermalWorks, and they just came out with the new wireless probe one. Not only is the control unit wireless, they have those too. Like if you're not using a rotisserie, you can just buy one of the cheaper ones. It's a dot that has Wi-Fi on it. It'll connect to either the ThermalWorks app, or I think you can connect it Bluetooth even or something. Mm-hmm. It's called a Blue Dot, I think. But those work great. I mean, I've tried some of the other ones. I just never had really good luck with them. But the ThermalWorks stuff is pretty daggum reliable, and their customer service is great. And we actually sell some ThermalWorks products here. I mean, in the shop because I use them. So I'm actually in the rotisserie turkey video that's coming out next. Is that going to be the next one, guys? Yeah. So that one will be the next video. I use that, and that's the first time I've ever cooked with it. I said I was going to see if it would work. And I was going to tell y'all about it if it did, and it did work. I had the lid closed. That probe went in the meat. It stayed in there the whole cook. That pit ran upwards to 400 degrees. Never had a lick of trouble. It hit that transmitter every time, and it was on my phone and would tell me. I knew where that bird was no matter where I was because I was connected to my Wi-Fi. So I could go anywhere that had Wi-Fi, and I think you could even get it on the cloud. Like if I would have left, I think I still could have saw it. I hadn't tested that yet. But it works. What is that?
I got your next turkey recipe.
Okay.
Mighty Max wanted to know if you've ever eaten, and I don't think I can pronounce this correctly, but it's a Puerto Rican roasted turkey.
No. What is it? What's it called?
Pavochon? It's a turkey.
I'm going to look this up. Puerto Rican roasted. Is it a specific species or a preparation?
No, it's
a Puerto Rican preparation?
It's seasoned and cooked like a Puerto Rican roast pork.
Okay. Y'all know I love me some Caribbean food, so.
It's stuffed with
do they use like jerk flavors?
Huh?
I don't even know what you just said. I don't think that was English.
It's a mixture with a lot of plantains and garlic.
I wrote it down, so I'm going to check this out. Puerto Rican roasted turkey.
Yes, it looks great. Like I just Googled it real quick, but that's a good idea.
Just wanted to let everybody know we have time for a couple more questions, so go ahead and get them in.
I appreciate y'all chiming in today. This has been some good questions, and I hope people have gotten something from this. And you can still get on the community and send questions just because we're not on here. Somebody will help you. Either I'll get on there, Shell will get on there, one of the people that work with us will get on there, or all the people that usually everybody's great about staying on topic and being helpful at the Let's Get to Cooking community.
I'm posting the link in all the chats right now for the community if y'all are interested.
Also, people were saying that they really enjoy the meter
probes.
Yeah. Those are wireless probes.
I had some. They worked a few times, and then they quit. And then I didn't know what to do. I spent a bunch of money on.
I always use the probe that's like on my grill, but it's always 10 degrees over.
Yeah.
Like it's always like it'll say like 210, and when I go actually probe it, it'll be 200 or whatever.
And you should calibrate them and get to know. I mean, it doesn't mean you couldn't use them if they're off or you can't, As long as you know what ballpark you're in, just go by that, and then verify. I verify every time. I don't trust just one probe. You'll even see me when I'm using a dot with the wire. I'm still coming back with a handheld to check it to make sure it's done.
Have you ever used a hasty bake?
I think Michael has one. It's a steak cooking, like little tabletop hasty bake. I don't remember which exactly model it is, but I bought it for him for Christmas a couple years ago.
You ever experiment with any Indian style barbecue, specifically tandoori chicken or tikka masala?
No,
Oh, but
that's
I would love for you too.
yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to try it. I'm not really familiar with much Indian cuisine. But I hear it's really good. A lot of spice.
Have you ever done a buttermilk brine on a turkey?
For a wild turkey on the breast, I use buttermilk and hot sauce, and I soak it in that. I cut it up into chunks, and then when I take it out, I run it through a dredge, like seasoned flour dredge, and then I deep fry it. I've never done it for like a smoked or grilled.
Have you discussed the safety precautions for a deep fried turkey or any helpful tips you may have?
Give yourself plenty of space away from any dwelling, building, structure, anything permanent.
Don't do it under a porch.
Don't do it under a porch. Make sure that bird is thawed out. Try to get it dry as possible. You don't want moisture and oil don't mix, and it will make the oil come out of the pot. I recommend getting your oil level right by using water and a raw bird. Put it in that pot, see where it's submerged at. That way you don't overfill it or underfill it, because you don't want to be trying to add stuff or take out any once you get it hot. There's nothing worse than dropping a turkey down and the oil comes out because there was too much in there. Most of the time, what I would do is make a mark on my pot. Once I figure out where that level is, that way I always know.
That's a good tip.
Always have a fire extinguisher around. Safe way to light the flame. Know how you're going to cut that gas off and get it away from it if something goes wrong. Keep kids away from it, the pets away from it. I've seen some stuff happen where, kids get too close by accident, of course, but you don't want to. The worst thing you do is you want that oil that's 350 degrees getting on anybody, because it will scar you for life. That's about the ones block your wind. And it could be something, the makeshift wind block or something, because the wind will mess burners up. They don't want to run right, or it could affect your temperature. So a lot of times we're cooking these turkeys, deep frying them in cooler temps. So, if it's windy, make sure you got some kind of barricade set up to kind of block some of that.
Can you collect your drippings when you're smoking? A lot of people use their turkey drippings.
I get asked that every
gravy
year, and I'm not a fan of it, simply because in the oven it's fine. You don't introducing the smoked element. But once you introduce that smoke element, it seems like any kind of moisture that comes out of the meat and collects in something, say a pan or whatever's below it, that moisture absorbs that smoke so much. And you think of liquid smoke, that's kind of what it turns into. And it's just not a good flavor. So I don't recommend it. I'm not saying you can't. I just don't recommend it. Taste it. I always taste it to see if it's good. Same things with drippings when we wrap a pork butt or we wrap a brisket in something and it comes off. Before I'd ever put meat back in the juice, the au jus, I would taste it to make sure it's not overly smoky. It's not bitter. It doesn't have that charcoal, like you think charcoal tastes. You don't want that liquid to have that flavor.
Charlie on TikTok's looking at making a blueberry cobbler for Thanksgiving. Do you have any tips on a good cobbler?
Cobblers, you can't really screw them up. Do the cuppa. That's what is it? A cup of sugar, cup of flour, cup of milk. Any kind of fruit works. I think you put your batter in there, then you put your fruit in, and then put the batter in. I can't remember, but I recently did an apple cobbler on TikTok on Buck Junkies, wasn't it? And man, it turned out so good. But it was just a basic, like my granny's cobbler recipe. But it's the old what's the lady's name from your Steel Magnolias? She talks about it. It's the cup
Dolly
of
Parton.
The cup of yeah, Dolly. The cup of.
Hey, Russ.
You can't mess it up.
Russ, your favorite Vermont maple syrup maker.
Oh.
He wants to know if you use the maple syrup.
What maple syrup?
Oh, have you used it in the brine yet?
Oh, no, I hadn't. I haven't used maple syrup.
Maple syrup? It's been gone.
Yeah, it's been gone. Like that stuff's like crack. Like, Buddy the Elf just always got a little jug with him. That stuff's real. I never knew. Like Rosa changed my whole total train of thought on maple syrup. I did not know it was so good.
Yeah, he said using your maple syrup in the brine is fire.
Yeah. Hey, there you go. We got a
Next year's on deck.
Puerto Rican turkey, and then we got a maple brine turkey.
And a mojo turkey. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I could see that being really, really good.
How about them Oregon ducks?
What? Y'all better stay up in the Northwest. Get down here messing around.
What type of pellets do you recommend for smoking a turkey?
I would keep it simple, like pecan or a fruit wood or something like that. I mean, you're not gonna. So a pellet grill's not gonna overly smoke them. So you could use just about anything. A good mix would work. Traeger actually has like a turkey. What is it called? A turkey pellet. And I think they infuse like some herbs and stuff in or something. They sent me some one year to try, and they were pretty good. I never seen them for sale, but I guess you can probably find them at some of these stores.
Any tips on curing a turkey?
No, it's something I never tried.
What did you want to?
I don't know, like turkey ham, turkey pastrami.
Oh, I guess, yeah.
Interesting.
That's something I've never done.
Really quick before we wrap up,
Turkey bacon.
Brandon's going to smoke a turkey breast, and he wants to vacuum seal it for 2 days later. Not freeze it. He's just going to keep it in the vacuum sealed in the fridge.
It'd be okay.
How do you reheat?
In that bag. In some water would be a really good way. That's how I would do it. You take it out, put it in a pan, add a little chicken broth, a little butter. Or if you save some of that and put it in that bag when you sealed it, use that same liquid and just warm it up until it's serving temp, to about 140. It's not hard. Turkey breast reheats really, really well.
I like it room temp.
Oh, we do. Yeah. But when you buy, what's the place, the honey baked hams, and you can buy honey baked turkeys and all that, their serving is supposed to be 8 at room temp.
What's your favorite bourbon?
Favorite? Or like my everyday. My everyday is probably Woodford. Favorite right now is that's Jack Sinatra. And it's not even a bourbon. It's a whiskey. But man, it's so good. I'm talking about you just need 2 ice cubes and some Sinatra. God, it's good. But I mean, I'm a Weller man too. I like Weller.
Do you have a favorite?
I like them all.
It depends on what day.
Oh,
you
no,
ask.
no. Taylor. That's probably my favorite. E.H. Taylor, the Colonel. It's dang good.
What's the largest turkey you would smoke?
12 pounds.
I'm going to just ask you a bunch of rapid fire.
Yeah. No, the largest, I don't know, 24. I'd hate to cook one that big, but I was like, man, why am I doing this? I'd cut him up, cook him in pieces.
Can you hold a turkey?
Yes, absolutely. Loosely tin it, put it in a dry cooler, let it hang out.
Somebody says I'm drinking Woodford right now.
Ooh, good choice.
Have
That
you-
double oak Woodford's good.
Oh, this is a good one. Have you ever done a
Shout out
smoked?
to my buddy Jack. He always sends us some Woodford from Kentucky.
Have you ever smoked boneless turkey breast roulade?
No, but it
That'd
looks
be a good
cool.
idea,
It looks really
yeah.
good. I don't think I have. That's kind of what you did with the when I do the turducken. You kind of make a roulade with it.
It's
Kind
a
of.
turducken roulade.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, Malcolm, we are at the end of our.
Has this been an hour already?
Yes, it
Fine.
has.
A stack of hats. Talked all kinds of turkey talk. Y'all, this has been fun. And once again, thank y'all for tuning in, first off, for watching the video recipes. We really appreciate it. And hope this helps when you're doing your Thanksgiving holiday cooking coming up. But if you do have questions, go over to Facebook, get on the Let's Get the Cooking community and ask those questions there. Or any social channel. Y'all can DM us, man. We'll try to get to those. We do get a ton of them, but we try to answer all the ones we can. And we appreciate you if you've helped us raise some money for our local food bank and for the Palmer home. We appreciate those contributions. That's been awesome. Hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving. And maybe we'll get another holiday live chatting. I don't know. We'll see. No, it's deer season. Never mind.
Maybe from the stand.
Yeah.
Head on over to the Let's Get to Cooking community over on Facebook.com/group/HTQ community. Share all your holiday cooks, ask all your questions and stuff like that. And we go.
Happy Turkey Day. We gone.